Let's explore one of the most profound moments in history, the piercing of Jesus' side on the cross. It's a detail we often hear but maybe don't fully grasp. But hidden in that moment is the key to, well, pretty much everything. You know, we're all familiar with the story of the crucifixion. But in the Gospel of John, chapter 19, there's a detail, a layer of meaning that is just so easy to skim right past. But here's the thing. Once you see it, it changes everything. It rearranges the whole picture. So the question becomes, what did John, who was standing right there, an eyewitness to it all, what did he truly see?
All right, so let's get into it. The real meaning of this event isn't found in a medical textbook. It's not about the physiology of death, no. It's about something much deeper. It's about divine worship, about a whole new reality hiding in plain sight. Here it is, the central truth. The cross wasn't just an execution, it was an inauguration. It was the exact moment that God's new temple became fully operational, opening a way to Him that had never existed before. Now, to really get a handle on this new temple, we have to first understand the old one. We need to look at God's original divine blueprint for how people were meant to approach Him. In the Old Covenant, access to God always, and I mean always, required two things: blood and water. Blood was for atonement. It was the payment for sin, what made you right with God. But that wasn't enough. You also needed water for purification, to be cleansed and made ready to actually stand and serve in His holy presence. You needed both, and it was always in that order: first blood, then water. And that ancient pattern brings us right back to the foot of the cross. Because when that Roman spear pierced the side of Jesus and John saw blood and water flow out, that wasn't some random biological quirk. It was a deeply liturgical act. It was the grand opening ceremony of the new and true temple. And believe me, this was no accident. John, who is probably the most symbolic writer in the entire New Testament, has been carefully, intentionally building his entire gospel to lead us to this one single moment. Just look at the clues he's been dropping all along. In John chapter 1, verse 14, he says the word tabernacled, or pitched his tent among us. Then in John chapter 2, Jesus literally calls his own body the temple. And in chapter 7, he promises that rivers of living water will flow from his heart. It's all pointing to this. So when that spear hits, it's not just the end of Jesus' life, it's the end of an entire system. The old way is done. In that instant, God's new world goes live, and direct access to Him is thrown wide open for everyone forever. Now, you might remember that the other Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, all mention that at the moment Jesus died, the massive veil in the Jerusalem temple was torn in two. So how does that connect? Well, there are actually two angles on the very same incredible event. Think of it like this. Matthew, Mark, and Luke give us the external camera shot. They show us the tearing of the physical curtain in the man-made temple. But John gives us the internal view. He shows us the tearing of the true veil, which was the flesh of Jesus Himself. It's the same reality, just seen from two different, absolutely crucial perspectives. And the book of Hebrews just comes right out and confirms it. Chapter 10, verse 20 says that Jesus opened a new and living way for us through the curtain, that is, through His flesh. It couldn't be clearer. The piercing of His side is the tearing of the veil. And this amazing event fulfills a promise that's centuries old. The prophet Ezekiel spoke of a day when God would give His people a new heart and wash them clean with water. The blood and water flowing from the pierced heart of Christ, that is the literal fulfillment of that very promise. But there's still one more layer here, and honestly, it might be the most beautiful and profound of them all. This is the story of the birth of a bride. Go all the way back to Genesis. The first Adam is put into a deep sleep. His side is opened, and from his side, his bride, Eve, is formed. Now look at the cross. Jesus, the true Adam, is asleep in death. His side is opened by a spear, and from it flow blood and water, the very elements of new life. This is the birth of His bride, the church, purchased by His blood and purified by the water. This is so important. The church wasn't born at Pentecost. She was conceived right here, at the cross. Pentecost is when the Holy Spirit came to breathe life into and empower what had already been created from the side of Christ. So what's the big takeaway for you and me right now? It's simple and it's everything. At the cross, a door was opened, a door that will never, ever be closed again. You notice John doesn't try to clean this up. He gives us the raw details.
A spear, a corpse, blood, and water. And that's exactly the point. Our faith isn't just a nice self-help philosophy or a set of motivational quotes. It's a blood and water reality, grounded in a real, physical, historical event.
When that spear entered the side of Jesus, God Himself threw open the door into His own presence, and He has never, ever closed it again. That access, bought with blood and cleansed by water, is open to you, right now and forever.